Warning, the information and interviews shared on this program might be found to be quite useful.
Hello and welcome to For Mature Audiences. I'm Sherrie Dunleavy.
And I'm Tate Blanchard.
And in this episode, we'll be talking about a subject that is pertinent to every single person over the age of 65, open enrollment for Medicare.
Such an important topic. And since November is Military Family Month, we wanted to talk about help and support out there for veterans and their families as they age.
Plus, we'll introduce you to the Tin Man in our Aging Awesomely segment, and it has nothing to do with the Wizard of Oz. So let's get started. Medicare open enrollment season is here. Every year from October 15th through December 7th, Americans 65 and older have a chance to change their Medicare plan. Now, why is this so important? Well, because every year the plans change. And so the plan you have may no longer be the one that's your best option. So open enrollment gives seniors the opportunity to explore other options, compare plans, and find the one that works best for their life and their budget.
And what we have found is that many people don't realize that they can change plans. Many don't know what to look for, and many get so confused and don't even explore this option. But there is help available. Sherrie talked with Elizabeth Blake, the SHIP counselor for the counties in the Northern Panhandle of West Virginia, about what open enrollment is and how she can help area seniors find the best option for their healthcare needs.
So SHIP stands for State Health Assistance Program. And it's a federally funded grant through the Administration for Community Living. Mm-hmm. And it's in every state, in all the 50 states. And basically, what we do is we help Medicare beneficiaries navigate through the very complex different little parts of Medicare. Typically, SHIP is in the area senior centers. However, we don't have to be. Like myself, I am located at Information Helpline in Wheeling. I cover Hancock, Brooke, Ohio, and Marshall counties. So every county actually has a SHIP counselor that can help you with any Medicare questions that you have.
Okay, so this is your busy time of year.
Yes, it absolutely is. And this has been the busiest year I've ever had. Open enrollment, which goes from October 15th through December 7th, is the time where you absolutely want to look at the plan that you have.
What is open enrollment? What does that mean?
Okay, yeah. So that is the time where you want to look at the plan that you have and look and see how it's going to change for the following year. Typically, all of the companies are required to send you a notice by September 30th to let you know how their plan's going to change for the following year. This year for 2025, many plans are terminating. Many plans are raising their premiums. So it's your one-time chance each year to make a change. If you are in original Medicare, you can go to a Medicare Advantage plan. You can change drug plans. So it's very important that you look at the plan that you have compared to the changes that's going to happen. You may think that you're in the best plan. However, if you don't know what's out there, you don't know that you could save money. It's very important that you look at your plan and look to see what other options are there.
Now, do a lot of people change on a yearly basis?
Depending on their situation. If you have a change in medications, for sure you want to look at your drug plan to make sure that all of your medications are in the drug plan formulary, and that they will be covered. You want to look, if you're in a Medicare Advantage plan, you want to make sure that your doctors are still in network, that the facilities are still in network, because if they're out of network, you're going to pay a higher cost, a higher copay.
Okay. So this all sounds very confusing to me. Is it confusing to the seniors?
It's very confusing to seniors. I've been doing this for several years and it's still confusing because every year things change. You have your typical Medicare A and B, and then that only covers approximately 80% of your medical expenses. Then you want to pick up a Part D plan for drugs. And then to fill in the extra 20% gap, you want to look at a Medigap insurance Medicare policy or switch over to a Medicare Advantage plan. Unfortunately, a lot of seniors don't know the differences. SHIP, we do not sell anything. We do not represent any one company or agent. We just basically help the Medicare beneficiaries look to see what their options are. We provide them with unbiased information so they can make the right decision for their situation.
So how do you do that? Do you have like an online spreadsheet that compares everything?
Yes, Medicare.gov is an excellent resource that anybody can use. So we just go there, we enter your drug plan information, the current drugs that you take, and we do a comparison to what's available.
So what we did an event at the library last month. You were one of the most popular people on the panel that we had. And I think it's because open enrollment is, here, but I also think it's because this is just so dang complicated and confusing. So what are like some of the most asked questions that you get that seniors want to know about what you do or about their Medicare?
Like if you're new to Medicare, say if you're 65, then that's your time to apply for Medicare. You can get it if you're younger, if you're getting Social Security disability, but typically it's age 65. There's different parts. And if you're just going in new to Medicare, you don't know what those different parts are. Like I said, you have your A and your B. A covers your hospital parts. B covers your doctors, your testing, things like that, only up to about 80%. Part A is free typically because
A is the free part from the government.
If there's always an if.
Oh, really?
If you have a work history, yes. So you had to have worked a certain amount of time to get Part A free. Part B, the doctor part, unfortunately, that's where everybody has to pay. In 2024, the premium is $174.70. Now that will increase more than likely for 2025, and we don't have that amount yet. Typically, it raises every year. You get a COLA increase with your Social Security benefits, and then they typically increase the Part B premium.
Okay. So you get Part A.
Yes.
Then everybody pretty much has to add a Part B.
Well, it kind of comes together, A and B. That's through Medicare.
Okay. Now what's C and D?
So D is for drugs.
Okay.
Which A and B typically does not cover any medication, does not cover vision, it does not cover dental, none of the extras. It's just for your health. So then you want to pick up D for drugs. And then the C is also referred to as the Medicare Advantage plan. And that's where the Medigap and the Medicare Advantage plan are run by private insurance companies.
Okay.
So if you go with a Medicare Advantage plan, you kind of let that company take over your A and B. It bundles everything together. So you have your A and your B, you have your D for your drugs. The Medicare Advantage plan offers extra little perks like limited vision and dental, sometimes hearing, sometimes over-the-counter perks. However, there's pros and cons to both sides. With the Medicare Advantage plan, you have to stay within their network of doctors. You have co-pays for like when you go to the doctor or to a specialist or get a test. Whereas with original Medicare, you don't have those co-pays, but you have a monthly premium that you have to pay in addition to the Part B premium.
Now, I know that this is the time of year you watch any television program, and especially right before the news at 6 o'clock, anything that's leading up to the news before 6 o'clock, there are so many commercials on about you should have our Medicare Advantage plan if you come here, and a lot of celebrities too that
Yes.
pitch these. Your
Yeah.
thoughts on those?
It's frustrating because they could be very misleading. You know, they say, oh, get what you're entitled to, or, you know, different things. All plans are different. And that plan may not be offered in your county. So just because it's in West Virginia they're all county specific plans. So what's in one county may not be good in another county.
So before they go ahead and call that number, they should probably consult with you or
Absolutely.
someone from your organization so that you go over with them.
Consult with a SHIP counselor. You can go to medicare.gov, like I said before, and do a comparison on your own. The commercials are very misleading and they're frustrating.
In addition to misleading commercials and ads, Elizabeth also cautions people about scammers. She says Medicare will never call you at home. So if anyone calls you saying they represent your Medicare plan, simply hang up. And whatever you do, never, ever give out any personal information to anyone calling you on the phone.
If you would like more information on how a SHIP counselor can help, you can call Elizabeth at 304-215-6528. And you can also find information online at wvship.org and medicare.gov.
When we return, we'll talk about aging veterans and various programs and support available to them and their families. So stay with us.
IC Cab offers 24/7 taxi services across the Ohio Valley, and we're growing. We now offer services in Brooke and Hancock counties. We offer safe and reliable transportation, courier services, corporate travel, and more. Contact us today for your next ride.
Welcome back to For Mature Audiences. November 11th is set aside every year to honor our veterans, and November is also designated as Military Family Month.
And that's why we thought this would be the perfect time to discuss a few programs out there that can help support veterans as they age. And Tate, through the years, you've worked with a number of veterans and their families, and so I thought it would be good for us to have this discussion. So first off, what are you noticing about the aging veterans, and what hardships are you seeing?
I think the most overwhelming hardship that I'm seeing is that veterans and or their surviving spouses don't know what is available to them as they age. Unfortunately, it's not highly publicized to them, the different benefits that they might be able to tap into.
So what are some of those options?
Sure. So specifically when it comes to home care, for example, there are a couple of different benefits that if a veteran and or their spouse might need help at home, there are ways to get that help without spending money out of pocket for them. And two ways that can be accomplished are through two different programs. One is the Homemaker program, which is solely for the veteran, that if they are already registered with the VA hospital, they can receive home care for a certain number of hours per month specific to their care needs. Then on the other side of that, if you're still a couple or you're the surviving spouse of a veteran, there is the aid and attendance benefit that is available that can provide home care free to one or the both of the two people in that relationship. And there are a multitude of other different benefits that are out there and available to them as well when it comes to their health care, but oftentimes for those benefits, they do have to be registered with the VA hospital.
So what's the best way for them to find out what's out there for them?
I think the absolute best way is to connect with a veterans organization, whether it's the Wheeling Vet Center or their Veterans Service Commission offices in Ohio or Helping Heroes, Or if you are in a place to where you think that you might need some additional support at home, you can call organizations like IC Care, and Sherrie and myself can give you information about the Aid and Attendance Program, or get in contact with your area council on aging if you're in need of the Homemaker program.
Now, last month, we did that wonderful panel discussion at the Ohio County Public Library. And one of the things that really stood out in that event was that you asked, there was a veteran there who was asking questions, and then you said, well, why don't we just turn to the panelists now and raise your hands if you have something that will serve our veterans. And nearly every person, every agency does something to help the veterans in our community.
And I think that is so incredibly heartwarming to see that here in the Ohio Valley, that is true, that we respect and we hold our veterans in such high esteem that many businesses here try to do something to honor the work and commitment that they've given to our country. And we had elder law attorneys there. We had people from nursing homes. We had people from assisted livings. You'll have to go back and watch the show if you haven't already done so to see the wide array of people that represented the panel at that discussion. But it's incredible to see that there are so many organizations here that do offer benefits for veterans and or their spouses.
Yeah, so if you are a veteran, really, it is really pertinent for you to find out that to know that there are services available, and then to find out the ones that will help you as you age.
And I think it is critically important to just don't write yourself off and think there's no help out there for me, because there is. You have done such a great service for our country that there are things that you are entitled to thanks to the tremendous sacrifice that you have given our country.
Great information, Tate.
Yes,
Thank you. And when we come back, we're going to find out how creativity can play a major role in aging awesomely. We'll be talking with the West Virginia Tin Man, so stay tuned.
IC Cab offers 24/7 taxi services across the Ohio Valley, and we're growing. We now offer services in Brooke and Hancock counties. We offer safe and reliable transportation, courier services, corporate travel, and more. Contact us today for your next ride.
Welcome back. Taking something old and turning it into something new. That's what the West Virginia Tin Man does, and is something that keeps him aging awesomely. Here's Sherrie with today's guest.
Well, we want to welcome Robert Villamagna to our show. So, Bob, your website says you are a mixed media artist working in Appalachia.
Right.
So, explain what mixed media.
Okay, well, so mixed media is just that I'm using more than one media in my work. Where like I'm not just an oil painter, I'm not just a watercolorist, and then the majority of people that work in mixed media also tend to work in non-traditional media. So outside of like what I might purchase, like the media I might purchase at an art supply store, for example. So that's what that is.
Okay, but you primarily work with tin.
Yeah, primarily tin and what I refer to as found objects, and again, it doesn't mean that they're always found, but they're objects or materials that go in with the metal and it's non-traditional art materials.
Yeah.
So but primarily, metal, repurposed metal.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of your work. I think
thanks.
it's very colorful. I think it's very clever. I think it's very creative, obviously. A lot of your work has messages. So do you have a message in your head that you want to convey through the art, or is the art telling a message to someone according to their interpretation of it?
Well, I will say that the majority of my work is narrative. So there's a story there. And it might be a very short story, very brief one. It might be serious, might be for fun. And those stories sometimes are suggested by the materials. You know, I'll see something on a can or something like that. But then I could be checking out a Kroger's, and I overhear two people talking, and I say, wait, there's an idea. And when I get home, I write it down, and I make a piece about that. You know, so there's where the stories come from, sort of.
The one that that comes to mind right now, it's on your website. It's the day the steel mill left town, and it's literally a steel mill with legs on it walking.
Right. Well, you know, you hear about well, especially in the last, let's say 30 plus years maybe, about different industries leaving certain communities. Back in maybe in the 70s and 80s, was a lot of them were going south, into the southern states for various reasons. But and so and I know some places just completely shut down. But I don't know. I was just starting to think about that whole idea about when factories leave, and I was teaching a workshop in Pittsburgh, and I had a woman in my workshop whose grandfather was the owner of a company in Pittsburgh that made tin toys, similar to Mark's in Glendale. Okay, and here they moved to Booneville, Alabama, like in the late, I think I'm saying that right. I think it's in Alabama, in the late 1960s, because he could get workers for less money. It's that whole idea of moving and making a bigger profit. But anyway.
Well, so let's talk about art as a hobby, which was something that it was for you for a while, and then the transition into making art as a way of life.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Art has never been a hobby for me, although it's been labeled that for me. Like when I was a kid.
Okay, so people.
Oh yeah. When I was a kid, and I was making art all the time, so I'm always drawing. And when I was able to finally get to paint or color chalk, pastels, that kind of thing, and people in my family say, "Oh, what a wonderful hobby," and when I was a kid, I would try. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do when I'm an adult. There's adults that do this, but I didn't have the wherewithal to be able to put up a good argument. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, what a nice hobby you have. And I had an aunt who lived in Steubenville, and she bought me my very first sketchbook and my very first set of Conte pencils. They were pastel pencils, and they were made in France. I thought that was a big deal. I was almost afraid to use them, but she bought me this sketchbook, and I thought, wow, because I used to use the cardboard out of shirts, and then my grandfather worked in a power plant. He would bring home these sheets of paper that had 1/4-inch blue squares. So I never really had paper just devoted to art, and here she bought that for me. But whenever I'd be drawing, she goes, "Oh, Bobby, that's going to be a wonderful hobby for you, but you've got to work on your schoolwork." All right, so nobody got it.
Yeah, you did though.
Well, yeah, I did. I had this dream. I didn't know how it was going to happen. It happened in some really backdoor ways, though. So.
But that's very cool, because I think it was meant to be, and so it was. It just wasn't on the timeline.
No, it wasn't on my timeline, and it wasn't in the way that I wanted. It wasn't the dream that I had.
Right. So, I mean, you've done a number of things, right? You've been in the steel mill, right. and you're a professor at West Liberty.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the greatest job I ever had, really. As far as, a job, if you're not making your own work, that was a great gig. I'm lucky. I feel real fortunate I had that.
Yeah. So may I ask how old you are?
Yeah, 76.
76 years old. Oh, wow.
Creeps me out. And the only time I come to grips with it is when somebody like right now, or you're at the doctor's office or something, and you have to give your date of birth, your age, stuff like that. I go, holy crap! What is it? So, but I think it's better not to think about it too much. You know what I mean? I don't mean to hide from it or to try to.
No, you're not denying it.
No,
I
know where I'm at.
Yeah.
If I didn't know then I wouldn't have been here. Yeah. You're right? Okay. When you call me, okay. Yeah. So, okay.
So what is your philosophy on aging, or do you even have one?
I don't know if it's real philosophy, but I think this came about with me when I worked in the mill.
Okay.
And here's what I noticed. Now, this isn't a Harvard study, so it's not precise.
No, I want your philosophy.
Okay,
yes,
so here it
yours.
Is. So when I worked in the mill, and I was involved in a lot of things outside of the mill, and part of that was making art. And another thing was I was into antiques and stuff, and collecting things. But I remember working around guys that had 30 or 40 years in the mill, and then they would retire. And what I would discover is, and again, that's what I mean, this isn't like this hardcore study, and that is that if somebody had an interest outside of the mill, I don't care if it was fly fishing, I don't care, what it was, going to NASCAR, or they were helping with Little League Baseball, but if they had some kind of interest, it seemed like they had a fuller life when they left. But those guys, and there were so many people who in the mill loved their job. And that's great. I mean, that was their whole world. When they didn't have anything outside of that, we would see their obituary within months after they retired. I saw that so many times. And I thought, man, you got to have something. You got to have something beyond. You got to have something beyond yourself or in what you're doing as far as maybe at work sometimes. I was fortunate because the job I had here at West Liberty was in the visual arts. So that was directly connected to me. Mm-hmm. So I'm in with people making art, and then when I'm at home, I can make art. So it was great,
Yeah. Did it kind of scare you when you retired then?
Oh,
no.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it wasn't like, yeah. I'd like to tell you that, I couldn't wait to blow this popsicle stand so I could just work in the studio. Well, when Chris and I were talking about it, we were talking about retirement, and I can see my age coming up, and it was my 70th birthday was coming, okay? And it's, and I told Chris, I said, what, maybe it's time. It's time, because I said, I would like to put in more studio time as long as I can, and so maybe it's time for me to retire. So I started to set that up. But I'm going to tell you what, when I left here, it took me probably about 18 months to kind of deal with it mentally.
It's a grief. People don't realize it's a grief.
Yeah, because here I was, I'm working in the studio. I have this time, but there's some things that are gone. Like I'm in the studio, I'm by myself. I'm working, and so we're here every day. I had my colleagues, and I was real fortunate because the majority of the people I worked with, I really got along well with. And then I had my students. That's not to say that occasionally you had a problem student, but they were in the minority. The majority of them, you loved being around them, you loved their energy, and that was gone. And then the other thing is, this will be kind of silly, but you are no longer, there's certain professions where you're fortunate enough, like a doctor, for example. It doesn't matter, they're always a doctor. And if you're working as a professor, you're professor. Hey, Professor V, Professor Villamagna, then when you're out of that, that's gone. You're just, hey, yeah, it's Robert, or it's Bob, it's Mr. Villamagna, Okay, and so you miss that too.
Yeah, your identity is tied to
right,
some
that
of
identity
it, yeah.
was there. And but after, what really cured it though, besides the time, was in my second year away from here. That's when COVID hit, and I thought, oh Lord, I wouldn't want to have to teach a hands-on visual arts curriculum via the internet.
Zoom.
Yeah, no fun.
So the timing was right.
Yeah,
really.
the timing was right. Of course, who knew it at the time, but yeah, so it worked out.
So what keeps you energized and keeps you feeling young? Because I feel like you're a kid at heart.
Yeah, maybe too much so sometimes, but no, what keeps me going or what keeps me young, I think, it's a combination, first of all, of people in my life, especially my wife, Chris, and because she's a ball of fun, and so I like being around her, and thank goodness she likes being around me, much to some people's probably scratching their head. But the other part is I get to do something like some at night. Sometimes I can't wait. In the morning, I'm going to get back in the studio. Matter of fact, if I have a dental appointment or a doctor's appointment, I go, oh damn it! And she go, wait a minute, that's only an hour or two. I said, yeah, I know, but it's messing up my morning because I'm going in the studio to work, and then I always try to have some kind of an exhibition lined up, something to focus on, or a way that I'm going to share my work somewhere, and so that really helps me. And I like what I do, so I'm fortunate that way.
Yeah.
I like making work.
Yeah,
I like making art.
I've noticed that a lot of people say creativity is a key to aging awesomely, and I would say that's especially true for you.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I would definitely believe that and support it. And it's sad because, when you're a little kid, everybody's creative. You go into a first or second grade class and you say it to kids, how many people in here know how to make art? Okay? And about every damn kid in that class is going to throw their hand up, You get them somewhere around 4th or 5th or 6th grade, say, how many people in here are artists? You might get 2 or 3. we start to lose it. I really, and it's almost, and I don't mean it's physically beaten out of you, but it's not supported in most places. It's not. It's like, oh, that's not important. We got to focus over here. Math, that's important. Communication, English, hey, that's important. I understand that. Sciences,
that can make you a living, but this makes a life, right?
Exactly. And so I just think that having the arts in your life are really, really important. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I
sure.
thank you for the time that you spent with us. It's been wonderful and
Good.
enlightening. Thanks, Bob.
Good. It's been fun.
If you would like to learn more about Bob's work, you can visit his website, robertvillamagna.com, or you can find him every year at Ogilvy Fest, most likely sitting in his director's chair with his lovely wife, Chris.
And that's a wrap on this edition of For Mature Audiences.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.